Hey guys and gals, welcome to 1031 Exchange KC, where we cover every multifamily investment opportunity on market in Kansas City and how it may fit into your 1031 exchange strategy. Remember though, even if you're not under a 1031 exchange deadline, listen up for your active investors as well, because at Xchange CRE, we want to work with you. Okay, so a little bit different this time. We're going to focus on how these deals might fit into your 1031 exchange here in Kansas City. So what I've done here is pulled up the MLS that is powered through Zillow in Kansas City for everything that is $500,000 and above. And many of these you have seen in the past if you've watched my prior video series, which was a multifamily minute, as we transition into the 1031 exchange topics here in Kansas City, focusing on multifamily. I wanted to just look briefly at everything that's come on the market in the last 30 to 90 days and it's still available, to see how it might really fit into your 1031 exchange. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to sort this from highest to lowest because that's going to give us the best opportunities to look at things first. So up here is a bunch of stuff in Lease Sum. It's actually all the same listing. So these three are all the same listings, just a series of duplexes. They're about $200,000 a unit. And I got to be honest, guys, the rents are not super high. So from this package here, let's zoom into Lease Summit. For 1031 exchange, yes, it's a Class A submarket. It's pretty dang safe. A lot of them have garages. But when we dive deep down in the package, that just $200,000 a unit with those rents in this lending environment doesn't quite work, in my opinion. However, if you do want something Class A, it's something we could look at for sure. Okay. So let's pull back out. And again, that's been on the market for several weeks now. Another project I actually do like quite a bit is this one here in Cambridge Meadows in Belton. And Belton is going to be down in this area. It actually doesn't show up on the map because the address is a little bit scattered, but it is in Belton. We've sold a lot in Belton. We actually helped 1031 exchange buyers buy these very similar type of fourplexes here. Might be a little bit high on price, but I think there's an opportunity actually in this market to split these out and maybe see if there's a package opportunity depending on how much you have for your exchange. Because remember, on these, especially for a 1031 exchange, you don't have to worry too much about any kind of owner expenses. You may have water, you may have trash, but even oftentimes that is paid for by the tenant. So we need to factor that into your pro forma when we look at how we replace your property. Okay, so let's go back here, get our bearings again. This property here we talked about a couple weeks ago. For a 1031 exchange, you're getting two buildings, these two buildings right here. I believe it is 11 units. So in Midtown, 11 units for $1.7 million is a good deal considering the streetcar is coming right by. The units themselves look like they're in pretty good condition. I mean, for a 1031 exchange, you don't want to have to do a ton of work unless you really want to. It's got some stainless steel appliances in many of the units. It's got updated cabinets and kitchens. Maybe a little bit funky, but I'll be honest, a lot of Midtown stuff is kind of funky. I own some stuff there. But this is actually a pretty good deal considering what we're looking at right here with being blocks away from the streetcar. And I think it's something you should maybe consider for your 1031 exchange. So happy to talk to you about that. Okay. This one here is another one that I would actually look at and consider for your 1031. It's up here in Buckner, Missouri, which is on the outskirts of the metro, which is this, if you can follow my hand here, is essentially the metro of Kansas City. Is built in the 80s or 90s, I believe. It's 16 units, so you can see it's priced okay. Rents are a little low. It's maybe outside the metro a bit much for some people, but for something that's affordable, the $2 million range, it's something we could definitely look at for a 1031. I'm not going to click too much into the details on it. This one here is another Midtown property. very close to the streetcar extension line. Values on this will go up in the future. It's got some updates and some not updates. So 12 units for 1.4 million is a decent price. However, you're going to have to come in at least do some work on some of the units. So, and it's got a flat roof, which I don't really like a lot of times for 1031 exchange investors because there's some immediate costs there, and the costs are higher than a normal pitched roof. So you want to pay attention to that. However, I mean, like I said, 12 units for 1.4 million is a pretty good price for that location. Next, we have a couple other properties I'll kind of touch on briefly. Here, there's some locations I would really kind of mostly stay away from your 1031 exchange unless you're familiar with that area. And that includes certain random parts of Kansas City, Kansas. Probably stay away from that unless you have an agent like myself that is really looking into and honed into that market. The same goes for stuff that's on Prospect Avenue. It's an emerging market, but it's not something that's going to be headache free. So consider all those aspects. Another one is this particular Independence property. The price per unit looks attractive, but the issue is, so you've got 8 units for 750, not a bad price, but that particular project is, a unique kind of building, flat roof, Independence, not a great part of Independence. So I would tend to stay away from that area. Okay, let's just keep scrolling here. Garfield, similar to the Prospect location. Liberty would be great. It's only, I think, 4 units for 660. Pretty dang expensive. Maybe even I think it's a triplex for 660. Pretty dang expensive, but for an exchange, you're looking at this to say, okay, what am I going to get in my pocket for cash flow? What am I going to get in my pocket for, return on my equity? What am I going to get in for, is it a safe investment? Those are the key points you want to look at when you're doing a 1031 exchange. So let's continue on this here. And I'm scrolling through a lot of the ones that I don't think are very important for investors. Here's one that's on the plaza. I love the plaza location, Class A+ location with some of, if not the highest rent. So it's a couple blocks off, very quiet neighborhood, tons of these converted duplexes over here. It's $300,000 a unit, pretty stiff, but maybe with some work inside, you could get to $2,500 a month in rent, depending on the size of the units in that location. And it will appreciate and hold its value, which I do think is important for a 1031 exchange, very important. And so as we continue to scroll down here, sorry for the fast scrolling. That's with the exception of this Harrison property. Let's see if this is still so this is a duplex. It's got an Airbnb unit in it. You're always going to run the risk of losing that license. I don't know how much I'd be in love with this building. It is a nice location. I've looked at a lot of different units in this area. East Plaza, similar to West Plaza, though not quite as quiet. I know this street pretty dang well. And could be some value if you love Airbnb. It's got Airbnb in it, which I'm sure is what this value is mostly based on. And it's got a great rental rate for the Airbnb because it's located next to the plaza, downtown, UMKC, Midtown, etc. It's just not my favorite thing to focus on when thinking about exchange investors. Okay. And that's it. So that's everything that's on the market here in the last 90 days. It's still available. It's within some certain price ranges. Again, I have a lot of off-market properties on our marketplace. I'm not going to cover them this time in this video. But what I'm doing here is showing you an overview of the market and how it's going to fit into your 1031. So let's now hop over to LoopNet. And LoopNet, I think I've got to come in here and do some filters. So we're only going to look at the last 3 months. We're going to also filter to $500,000 and above. We're going to exclude pending sales, and we're going to take a look. Okay. Usually it kind of does some funky things where it tries to load out. So here we go. Okay. So we're only going to focus on the metro, which includes some of the properties we looked at last time. All right, in the MLS. And here's one that was not. This is an Independence property, 15 units for 3.8 million. These are very large units with garages, good location. You know, it's pretty pricey on a cost per unit. You know, I'd have to dive deeper into this to see really where the value of this is. I do like this type of product for your 1031 exchange because again, no low owner expenses. But it's a little bit confusing to me on the price here, and maybe I'm missing something that is reason why the price is the way it is. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump up to this particular package. We're actually going to skip that because it's a whole bunch of different single family homes. There might be some duplexes in there, but it's not something I focus on. I'd rather focus on something that is going to be more for multifamily investor in 1031 exchange land. This here, anything that's east of 71, unless you're an experienced investor in this part of town, I would stay away from. It's not bad. It's just not something I could recommend from an investment standpoint. Values sometimes look like it's there, and there is a lot of emerging markets in this area. I mean, the whole city has emerging markets. That's why it's a great city to invest in. It's hard to mess up, to be frank. So that's just my opinion. Is a recommendation would be to stay away from these properties. We have these two single family homes. We're not going to focus on that. That's a condo here. So, excuse me, $1 million condo. You can see partially why so many people buy multifamily. If you've got some condos going for $1 million in that area, it's a good indicator of it. It's also a strong rental market. This one we looked at on the MLS. Again, that's 11, 12 units, something like that for 1.7. Pretty large units, etc. Again, something we should look into to see how it might fit into your 1031 exchange. Another building here is the Afton Apartments. It's been out here on the market for a little while. It's 24 units. I actually have 24 units as well in a very, very similar location. It's going to be at a better price point. Now, these are all 2 bedrooms. The ones I'm talking about are 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms for about 135,000 a unit. So that one is going to be competitive with this. It's actually 4 or 5 separate buildings is one I have. The Afton Apartments, you've got to look at these from a stability, how much has been done to them, how easy is it going to be to sell, how much work do you have to do on the roofs, etc. And be happy to share both of the ones that I have off market on the marketplace, as well as discussing these in detail. I think they're both fine investments, to be frank. Okay, so another property here to look at is going to be another package of plaza properties. And these are all coming in at a pretty high price per unit. They're in high demand. They're in amazing locations. You've got to get your arms wrapped around the numbers. They're actually okay for a 1031 exchange because you can put more down and you can cash flow just as much. So when you're looking at an exchange, it's not just about the cap rate. It's mostly about your return on your equity that you're investing, as well as how much money you're putting in your pocket each month. If you're doing a 1031 exchange, there's usually a reason. You want to upgrade. You want to get rid of stuff you don't like. You don't like the market you're in. You want more cash flow. So focusing on the positives of an investment are important. And it's not just about the price per unit, the cap rate, and what I'm getting right now. It's how solidified is my asset? How much can I grow my wealth? So keep that in mind. All right, finally on LoopNet here, this is in Kansas City, Kansas. I've sold several properties in this area. And these are all, I believe, fourplexes. I'm not sure if these have garages, but it's right by KU Med, largest employer in the region. I own property over here. I've sold 150 units in the last couple of years in this area, and it's a great investment location. And I would just recommend taking a look at that and seeing how that might fit into your exchange. Okay. So pull back out. I'm not going to touch on Tonganoxie. It's not really part of, I mean, it is kind of part of the metro, but we're going to not focus on that right now. We're just focused on what's coming to the market here the last 90 days or so. And I think there's some good options out here from an on market perspective. We have about 10 different deals that are off market. They're going to be as competitive or more competitive than virtually all of these that are on market. So I encourage you to reach out and ask about our off market deals that I can grant you access to. And we can cover those in details. If you like some of these, maybe we can even buy one of these if you want, but we can also compare it to what we have. So again, when you're looking at your 1031 exchange, you want to look at your return on your equity you're investing, how much cash flow you're getting, how stable is the asset, what kind of effort do you have to put into it to make sure it's going to perform well for you. All those things are very important, especially if you're coming into the Kansas City market for the first or second time. So really with that, that's basically it for this version of the 1031 exchange Kansas City. Regardless if you are under a 1031 exchange deadline, considering a 1031 exchange, or are an active investor looking to buy, we want to hear from you. And that'll do it for this is Alex Olson with the 1031 KC.